right. Well, let's be honest, 2024 has threw us some curveballs. We've had a cyber attack that tried to keep us offline, affordability challenges, inventory roller coasters. The industry's just getting back to the basics of selling again. And all the while, we've kind of just rolled with the punches because that's what automotive does. Always adapting, always innovating, and through it all, we're right there with our partners, helping them overcome the challenges and discover new opportunities. Because at the end of the day, we're all about moving forward together. Today, we have a wealth of knowledge joining us, Mr. Allan Stejskal, CEO of AutoAlert, the place where I reside and me and my colleagues call home. His distinguished career has included a number of different trips to the top of the mountain, leading the dealership management systems at DealerTrack and Incadea, and he's been recognized at Automotive News on several occasions, but this one was a pretty big deal. The IT All-Star. His insights into the industry are truly invaluable, and we are eager to learn. So let's go ahead and jump in. Allan, welcome to the feed. Are you ready to break down this year?
I am. Hey, this is exciting for me, Charles. I've been watching you do this for a while, and I kind of figured you were never going to invite me, but this is cool. I'm excited.
Well, great, great. I am happy to have you. In fact, what a better way to finish off the year, right? And I'm glad you've kind of seen the lay of the land. We really want to get into it. And let's kind of start off with our wins. Here at Auto Alert, we've been working on a lot this year. We've seen a ton of growth and we've seen a lot of changes and advancements in the product. Let's talk about some of the wins and learnings that we've had across the year. What was the biggest win from your perspective this year at Auto Alert?
Charles, we did a lot of things this year, and I think the places that we leaned in the most were with workflows, AI tools, and our CRM product, CXM, right? I think we'll probably get into it around process and some of the, kind of back to basics things that the industry is facing right now. And for me, having the ability with inside the Auto Alert tool to drive process has been a huge win for us this year. And so our Alert Miner Pro product with its workflow capabilities, which really lets us take all the power and insights of the Alert Miner tool and assign them out to the individual salespeople. Has been probably the number one thing for me.
100%. And of course, here in house, we say it till we're blue in the face. Hey, you got to put some action to the activities that you want. So it's great that we know all these insights. Let's get them to move, right? Let's take it to the next step and make sure our teams are supplied with the proper tasks on a daily basis. And I think a lot of that automation from workflow has definitely changed the game and opened some of our dealers' eyes.
Yeah.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, because we've been doing so much, we've had a lot of things that we've learned. What was one of the biggest takeaways from the year as we kind of approached tuning up the tool?
Sure. Probably the biggest thing that we heard from our clients this year was that their teams, frankly, either forgot how to sell, or in some cases they've had so much turnover in the sales staff that folks who've been there 4 years or less never really been in the selling environment that we're in today, and what we all were used to. On top of that, you've got all the changes in kind of how the workforce expects to be treated, right? Coming out of COVID, the pandemic, there's a whole new set of expectations about what does it mean to be at work, and those were the things that our dealers brought to us and said, hey, you've got great tools, but how can you help us move a prospect further down the road towards that journey to a sale, uh, without us having to engage some of these salespeople who are not maybe where we want them to be today. So things like, again, workflows, right? Uh, but more importantly, things like our auto assistant tool, which is an AI conversation engine, which engages with a customer and helps nurture them along the way until they're in a position where a salesperson really should be engaging, and where the prospect is frankly a lot more ready for that engagement. So uh, those are the kinds of things we heard and we reacted to, and it's been a fun year in terms of being able to make those changes and see some real progress and headway by our dealers.
No, I couldn't agree more. I've heard it from several different groups of dealers and individual tops. It's all about getting back to the basics, as we continue to say. And it's funny because you mentioned, hey, the last 4 years, it's been a different environment, but we're turning back seemingly the hands of time to the old industry, right? No, you have to have a full conversation. We have to walk through this process, and the process actually matters. On that same note, the industry in it itself has had some fast-paced changes this year as well. Were there any major pivots that we had to make as an organization to kind of keep up with where the industry was going that you could point out?
Yeah, from a pivot perspective, look, the one I'd have to call out here was the CDK outage that happened in the middle of the year, late June, going through 4th of July. Uh, that was a tough thing for nearly half the dealers in the market who were in a position where the tool they used to sell cars, to write service, wasn't available to them. So we tried to act fast and provide dealers with access to some of our tools that could help on the CRM side, on the desking side, just the ability to engage with customers overall really made, I think, a difference in the short term for a number of dealers. But these are the kinds of things that you don't expect, and you got to be able to react to quickly.
No, I definitely agree. No one saw it coming, and I think that's kind of the lesson in and of itself. And luckily, we all understand what needs to happen moving forward. But can we talk a little bit more about the impact? As I think we, as a whole, need to understand that software in a dealership is really not just an option anymore. It's vital, and it changes the way the process works. What were some of the major impacts to our dealers that use the systems that we had to help them kind of overcome and work to safeguard what they could?
Yeah, the the whole CDK thing, as we think about our systems, Charles, uh, it, that incident really drives home how vulnerable everybody is to cyber threats and the impact that they've got on, frankly, on our daily life. Dealers and customers here couldn't get their cars serviced, they couldn't get vehicles sold, uh, and there's an old saying, old saying, right? Old saying in the cybersecurity space. So how old can it be, right? But there's an old saying that says that it's not a question of if you're going to be a victim of a cyber attack, but rather when. And the key is really about whether you're able to identify the attacks quickly, if you're able to respond quickly to them, and can you minimize any of the impact that might potentially happen, both to data and processes. We're really lucky. We've got a really incredible OIS. OIS is Office of Information Security team, and their job's to keep our systems and data safe. And as a part of that, we've got a couple of key certifications that we've gotten years ago now, and that we continue to maintain: a SOC 2 certification and a ISO 27001. And these certifications require you to on a consistent and regular basis get retested, continue to update all of your uh, processes, continue to monitor and change all of the tools that you're using so that you're in the best position to be able to uh, keep the data and our systems safe. So, I'm super proud of the OIS team and all the hard work that they do, because they they've done a great job of keeping that data and those systems safe and secure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I know more about security, cybersecurity terms than I care to mention I thought I would know. I I am telling people in my family not to open emails, getting rid of certain types of text messages. I'm literally slapping hands. Don't touch that. That is
It's
going to steal
it,
all your things.
it's amazing how many times I send out requests to the team to send me gift cards.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was. This is the gift cardness CEO I've ever seen. What is he
yeah,
doing? What would he
yeah.
do with all these gift cards?
Yeah, but the teams now, they don't even nobody even asks anymore. We all know better, and keeping
that
vigilant.
was that was the first question mark. I was like, a gift card? Why would why would he reach out to you specifically for a gift card? It's just funny and it's interesting that it works at from time to time. But I'm glad we're past that and we're all now more knowledgeable for it. But let's get into some of the good stuff with our dealers. Processes and process, the term and the theme and the function of it seems to have been a big theme for the entire year. And this whole back to the basics kind of hinged on, well, what are you actually going to do? How do you judge it? How do you gauge it? How do we duplicate it? So what are some of the main focuses that you heard from some of our top dealers when it came to nailing down a process?
Yeah, I went to a conference last week. Cliff Banks, who's been in the industry a really long time, runs a conference called Autovate, and they do a really great job of pulling together folks to talk about what's happening in the auto retail space. And he had Glenn Mercer, who's a longtime industry watcher and consultant, talk about what's what's new and changing. And he does this for Cliff every year. And uh, the topic of his talk this year was back to basics. And so, to your point, uh, that's a lot of what people are focused on right now is retraining salespeople, right? Building a consistent and repeatable sales process that's got good follow up, that holds people accountable, and we're headed back to a world where it's closer to where we were in 2019.
Yeah.
Inventories are back, front end margins are under pressure, incentives are returning, and we've got some extra challenges that maybe we didn't have then around vehicle affordability, kind of level of demand, uh, and then frankly the whole thing with folks just being out of practice, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
No, I definitely understand that. And I think the out of practice thing is just kind of one of those, hey, when you're out of shape, you feel it when the time comes. When you go to flex that muscle and it's just not there like it used to, some of those growing pains are difficult. And I think one of the larger areas that's kind of been that way for the better part of a decade or whichever decade you want to land in, and that's working the service drive. It has been a moving target. It has been something of importance to one group or another in the industry. And I think this year really kind of topped it off. Hey, we have to do something. And I think it hinged on figuring out acquisitions,
Right.
trying to beat the whole ebb and flow of the inventory situation because we're not necessarily in crisis. It's just, hey, where can I find a vehicle that I can move quickly, but it's also a quality vehicle. And from a financial standpoint, it's not just vehicle affordability with the customer. It can't stay here very long because then my affordability as a dealer is in jeopardy.
Right.
So, what have you heard with the ideas around service and what our dealers are trying to figure out?
Yeah. 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 I can't overemphasize the kind of the power of working the service drive, right? And and it's not complicated, right? It's a simple, relentlessly executed process that touches all the customers who are coming in to service with an offer to buy their car that's presented, at least introduced to them before they get to the dealership. Uh, that an offer and a conversation is had with them when they're in the service drive, and then followed up on after the fact. And having tools like AutoAlert, Alert Miner, to be able to uh, trigger those conversations, to be able to track them, to be able to deliver those messages to the consumer that night before they're coming in, to be able to present them offers for key to key trades for folks who are in a good position to do that. Those are all things that they're not hard to do, but they're things that dealers have gotten away from executing consistently. And it's really a place where there's a lot of low hanging fruit, frankly. And the stores that execute that well see a pretty tremendous lift in terms of number of sales, but also it's the vehicles that they're able to acquire and put in their used vehicle inventory at good prices.
Mhm.
Uh, it's about delivering a better customer experience to their customer who's been loyally servicing with them over time, and you're able to make an offer to somebody who maybe wasn't even in the market, uh, and it makes them feel special, and that it's hard to put a price on that.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree. If you want to talk
Yeah,
about experience,
very
there's no
kind of-
better time to present a good experience than in the service drive. Or they're here. They're here right now. Or it's kind of a recency bias. Maybe they've already left, but you have a reason to connect with this customer. And I always like to talk about strategy stacking. You laid out the foundations for why you should work the service drive and how to keep it simple. Well, I want to touch people who are here. I want to give them a good experience at my store and remind them why they do business here. And I want to make offers to them because that's
Hmm.
going to open up doors to keep this customer, but also doors to keep my business revolving because I actually do need them to participate because it helps the whole model. But then we stack strategy in there with tools like AutoAlert to be very specific in those conversations. I took this from one of our dealers, and he was actually on the podcast recently, and he said, "Hey, take the insights and figure out what conversation you want to have, and then find the right group of people to have the conversation with." It's really just that. I can get
Yeah,
really good
but
at a conversation, but who am I talking to?
yeah. What that when a friend of mine asks what I do and what Auto Alert does, right? It's about having the right conversation with the right customer at the right time, and that's what we're all about, right? It's all about using AI and all of the data that we have as part of the tool to find the right customer to have a conversation with, and then tee up that right conversation for the salesperson, and do it at the time that the customer is ready to hear the message, right? Not
Yeah,
on their birthday, not on the anniversary when they bought their car, but at the right time. And one of the insights that over time we've gleaned, and it's not, maybe it's not so magical, but a customer who just had an expensive service experience maybe is in a really good spot to have a conversation about getting a new car, so they don't have to do that again, right? And so teeing that up, to your point, right after that right after that service experience makes all the sense in the world.
absolutely. It's more real. It's a authentic situation that happens on a daily basis. And as a consumer, right, we as dealers, we need to tiptoe back into the consumer world. We don't really want to pay that big bill, but we understand it. We're going to go ahead and do it. And we know you took care of us. It still hurts a little bit after we leave. You know how to make that all go away? Bring me something that I didn't know was possible. So it actually is, it's a magical feeling. It may feel mundane to us, but of course, let me go ahead and filter by everybody that came through the service drive this week that had customer pay, that warranty, even if warranty covered it, it was $500 to $1,000 worth of warranty work. They still had to get that work done. Now you do that same filter on customers that didn't have a warranty, but they still paid almost $1,000 or more out of their pocket.
Yeah,
This conversation is a lot more meaningful. And then I know who I'm having this conversation with,
sure.
right? And there's so many other instances of layering this up. If you if you open up the Pandora's box of uh, recalls, you're not going to run out of people to talk to because recalls are not going to run out. So I've just listened to dealers tell us different ways that they're just growing business in the back of the house and then turning them over to the sales team at the proper time. That's the revenue model in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's retention right there. That's experience because your team is just executing on having great conversations. And we can go on and on about that part. But
Yeah, and you know what, that that's one of the things that I think in conversations this year that I've heard, right, is folks who've gotten away from executing on those basics, right? It's you pointed them out, whether it's recalls or it's the service drive, or frankly, it's following up on folks you haven't seen, but who are in a position to make that next trade, and following through with those opportunities. That, hey, you know what? For a long time, or for a few years, life was pretty easy, and I didn't have to do that to sell the vehicles that are in my inventory. Well, unfortunately, we're back to reality. We're back to the hard days, and you got to go out. You got to make deals, and some of the best places to make them are with your existing customers. So it's key.
absolutely. Well, let's kind of push off into the future and the current, talking about AI and the future of AI. It is everywhere, and we have been leveraging it for quite a while. What gives dealers the competitive edge when they're leveraging AI in the proper context? AI that's for your store and for your dealership. Why is there an edge to that type of dealer?
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation, back to the Autovate conference again, right? A lot of people talking about AI is a hot topic for sure. Uh, and you kind of hear in the background this desire for AI to be that silver bullet.
Mm,
And uh, hey, maybe I don't have to train my salespeople. Maybe AI is just going to take over for me, right? Uh, and you hear it in people's voices, and the almost this dreamy, wishful kind of look comes over them. Uh, but everybody really at the end of the day recognizes that we're still in a people business, right? And
Mhm.
despite despite the fact that we had the promise from the internet, people were going to buy cars online, then digital retailing, and people were going to be able to calculate all their payments and then they'd submit and buy online again. AI is just kind of that next incarnation. We're not going to get away from the fact that a dealer needs skilled salespeople to be able to have that conversation with a customer who is about to make a the second biggest purchase they ever make in their life, right, is a car, and they want a bit of that human touch. But all that said, Charles, AI and what we're doing with our auto assistants does does help. It helps uh, ensure that we're spending that quality salesperson time with the best possible prospects. And we're helping give good, consistent, reliable, timely information to a customer as they're going through that sales journey, and setting them up and setting the salespeople up to have those really impactful, powerful conversations that frankly lead to sales. Uh, and, uh, and it's working for us, right? We've used AI for a long time inside our products to do things like to identify those best product prospects, to do things like build out the right messages and make sure they're going to the right people at the right time, right? But now some of the conversational natural language models that are there are allowing us to help further the conversations and push people down that sales journey path further than they have before.
Absolutely. Um, incoming very bad basketball analogy, but when used correctly, AI is an alley oop. It's an alley oop to your sales team. It's an alley oop to the person who's live in your store, right? They all basically get a free assistant that is more persistent, more professional, and will continue to be relentless based on whatever task given, more so than your
Yeah,
people have the capacity to do. Here's the
yeah.
bad
I'm
analogy.
gonna I'm going to steal your analogy and just go a little bit further, right? So
Oh,
it's
keep
an
going, keep
alley oop.
going.
It's an alley oop. It's not Caitlin Clark, right? It's not it's not AI is not a half court shot, right?
Mm-mm.
AI is setting somebody up to put the ball through the basket.
Yes, it is absolutely that. You're already close. Now it's ready to slam it in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what the people really want to hear. What are we bringing to the next show at NADA? What are what's the sneak peek? What can you let out of the bag? We're a few weeks away. So
Charles,
the countdown is already on.
we've always got cool things that we introduce at NADA, and uh, it
You're not gonna
is.
say
I,
it.
2025 is not going to be any different. It's going to be cool. I'm excited about what's coming. I'll give you a little hint. There's a little bit more around video and a little bit more about really deeply engaging with our customers and the dealers' customers on an ongoing, consistent basis. Uh, but I don't want to ruin the surprise. It's going to be
All right,
it's
all
going to
right.
be neat. It's going to be great.
Okay. Well, I'll ruin it in a few weeks, but he is absolutely right. Get excited. This is really the culmination of pulling things that are already available and making it useful for our dealers to have the right conversation with the right customer at the right time using modern technology. Now, do you have any predictions for the overall year of 2025?
Well, you know, I think 2025 is going to be a year that really is back back to basics. It's folks are going to be getting back to fundamentals. The dealers that have successfully or are in the process of successfully rebuilding their sales engines are going to be the ones that win. I think AI is going to continue to drive some real meaningful change in our industry. Again, maybe not at that level of dreaming that some folks have, but it is really going to help drive more consistent, higher quality conversations earlier in the sales process. And I think that's a lot of where that value comes in is, the conversation is consistent, right? You can expect that your AI tools are going to deliver the same kind of information to every customer, and you're not reliant on a salesperson getting the message right every single time. So uh, people are going to continue. I think we're going to see people are going to continue to buy from people, and the power of the salesperson, that the person who's going to put it through the hoop, as you described, is going to be continue to be important in 2025. We'll see a little bit better vehicle affordability, which will certainly help. Uh, we may have we hey, it it's it's the automotive retail space. If there weren't some surprises in 2025, it wouldn't be a normal year, right? So, impacts of tariffs could be there, uh, and we'll just have to see how some of that stuff plays out.
Yeah, we'll keep it rolling. That's what we do. Um, any final thoughts for our dealers who we are partnered with and our future partners as we move forward into this new year? What do you leave them with to finish out Q4 and start looking forward to um, the bright Q1 of 2025?
Yeah, I have to remember to keep it positive here, because making money in 25 is going to be harder than it was in 24. Their pressure to cut costs is clearly going to be there for folks, but I think the message I'd say send people off with is, uh, when you're thinking about how you're making money in 2025, be be ruthless about driving return on investment, right? There are lots of great tools out there, and I wouldn't be the CEO of AutoAlert if I didn't believe we weren't one of them. But there are lots of great tools out there that deliver really, really strong ROI. There, there's almost nothing that runs on pure autopilot, right? So
Right.
take the time to think about those places you're spending money that have either delivered ROI for you in the past or delivering ROI for you now, and make your investments in your management time in driving that ROI, ensuring that you've got the processes that are sitting back behind the tools to deliver that value. And I think that really, in the end, is what's going to pay for people. There aren't silver bullets. Maybe there's some solid bullets out there, but none of them are silver. You got work you got to do uh,
Mhm.
to get that value. And hey, we're an incredibly resilient community in automotive retail. People figure it out. They figured out every one of the changes that hit us so far. I'm looking forward to seeing how people continue to evolve and change in 2025.
Absolutely. Well, Allan, thank you for your precious time. We do know that you are busy, and I know that you really wanted to let the cat out of the bag, and you just couldn't do it. But like I said, I'll do it for you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Feed. Here's to 2025 and future episodes. We promise to get you on here more than the end of the year. 2025, maybe we'll do a seasonal check-in, figure out where in the world is Allan Stejskal. Until next time, everybody. It's been good.
It was a lot of fun, Charles.
No problem.
Take care. Happy holidays.